Before this video begins, I would like to apologize to a few people. My last video seemed to upset a lot of people, and I just need to clarify a few things. First, to Mr. Adam Skeptic. I will never apologize for my views or what I believe, but I still wanted to say something in case you're listening. In the video mentioned previously, I talked about how I didn't believe animals had souls, and I could tell from Mr. Adam Skeptic's comment that he was very much against this idea. I can respect and understand that he has a different philosophy than myself. That's okay. I guess I would just like to apologize for my wording and the way I went about it. And secondly, I would like to apologize to Mr. Barlow. I understand that I mispronounced his name, and this seemed to really upset him. Once again, I got personal, I got nasty, and that was the wrong way to go about the video. Every day I've been on here, I've interacted with some of the most hateful people I've ever met, and this has caused me to become very angry and bitter. I apologize, Mr. Barlow, if I offended you at all with my last video, and I'm sorry that you found my video to be unconvincing. I will try better in the future in all of these departments. That is all I can really do to make it right. So with that long message out of the way, let's get into the substance of this video. I'm sure that you're all aware that Trump has recently rolled out his stimulus package of $1,200 to every American. I myself got mine 2 days ago and was able to afford this. I happen to be a very big classic horror movie fan and decided to finally buy this collection. I've held off on buying it for a while because 1, I don't really like physical media, and 2, I've already seen about a quarter of the movies in this collection. But in the end, I decided to buy it. I won't go into too much detail because that is not the point of this video. The point of this introduction is that I'm not against the stimulus because it is not UBI, not even close. Trump's stimulus is a reimbursement for every American that wasted their money on the failed program that is known as Obamacare. It's a reimbursement for the 7 wars started under the Obama administration, and it's a reimbursement for all the wasted taxpayer dollars that are spent on food stamps, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, the FDA, the EPA, and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. UBI is about printing more money and giving it to people that produce nothing and don't pay any taxes. But before I go off on a tangent, let me go point by point and provide my arguments that UBI is a bad idea, and then at the end explain the title of the video. Argument 1. It is the ultimate handout. UBI is the ultimate handout, and is exactly what the Democrats have wanted to do for years. Instead of providing people with food and healthcare, why not just give them the money directly so they can buy drugs instead of trading food stamps for cash and getting a prescription from the doctor? If we, as a country, decided to do this, it would be the most immoral thing any country has ever done to its own people. I'm going to read an excerpt from this article called Top 3 Arguments Against UBI. Link will be in the description. Incentives work, handouts don't. Incentives are a powerful force, and there's no greater incentive than financial security and holding a job that is essential to that end. When something comes easy, it is easily taken for granted. And while it would be nice to believe otherwise, giving cash handouts to every American incentivizes them to try that much less. By removing the financial incentive to work, the state is encouraging idleness, something contrary to the entrepreneurial spirit so deeply woven throughout our country's history. During the Clinton era, the welfare state saw tremendous decreases, but that didn't mean there were millions of Americans struggling to get by. Employment actually increased because individuals were incentivized to go get jobs when there was no longer a guaranteed safety net. So if UBI is the ultimate handout, and handouts are a bad idea, then by using simple logic we can see that UBI is the ultimate bad idea. But I have more arguments than one, so let me get into argument 2. It would lead to higher taxes. According to this website called The Balance, the annual tax revenue the government receives every year is $3.863 trillion. Now that's a lot of stolen money, but let's figure out how much UBI cost. Well, there are roughly 333 million Americans living in America today, so we would just multiply that by 12,000 and we get $3.996 trillion. So even if we funneled every single dollar the government gets annually, we still wouldn't have enough money to pay for UBI. So logically, taxes will have to increase. Instead of taking people's money and giving it back to them, why not just let them keep the money they make instead? Argument 3. It would make people lazy. I'm going to read a few quotes from this article called Why Universal Basic Income is a Bad Idea by MarketWatch. This article talks a lot about how UBI actively discourages work. It would logically make people comfortable with being lazy. Link to this article will be in the description. Basic economic theory implies that taxes on income are distortionary inasmuch as they discourage work and investment. The EITC already functions like a guaranteed basic income for low-wage workers, costs far less than UBI, and directly encourages work. People don't want handouts, they want jobs. That doesn't mean I support a federal jobs guarantee. It means that I want the government to end the heavily constrictive regulations. That way the free market can work the way it's supposed to. Stop taxing every last cent out of everyone's paychecks. Let them keep their money and stop regulating businesses, and you won't need UBI. And along with that, we should instill in children the value of hard work, so we don't have to worry about UBI becoming a topic of debate anymore. So the next argument is argument 4. It would increase the debt massively. So with higher taxes and increased laziness, the amount of people to even tax is going to be extremely low. It will get to the point where even if you taxed everyone working at 100%, you still wouldn't be able to pay for UBI. So naturally the government is going to have to increase the deficit more than you can even imagine. I expect that at this point the national debt would double if not triple every 3 years. But where's my evidence for this claim? Well, let's look at some numbers and I'll show you. According to this wiki page about the national debt, America owes a little over $24 trillion. And as we talked about earlier, UBI costs about $4 trillion per year. So that means if we just borrowed money, it would only take 6 years to double. But how much are we deficit spending right now? And how much is the population of the U.S. expected to increase within the next 10 years? I'm going to be reading another figure from the balance. Link will be in the description for this source. According to the balance, current deficit spending is a little under $1 trillion. So let's assume that goes unchanged. We are looking at $5 trillion per year now. But let's look at population increases, because more people means more money spent on UBI. As you can see from this graph, the U.S. is expected to reach as high as 629 million people. So let's do some more math. 629 million multiplied by 12,000 is over $7.5 trillion. And adding the 1 trillion to that, we get 8.5 trillion. And this is all assuming that UBI starts at $12,000 a year. An easy way for a politician to beat an incumbent is to announce that he's going to be increasing the amount that everyone gets, effectively buying votes from the public. Once you open Pandora's box, you lose total control, and everything becomes a chaotic mess. Argument 5. It would lead to massive inflation. So after people stop working, and by result lower tax revenue into the government, and after they've borrowed trillions of dollars to pay for this program, the debt will become unsustainable. At which point, the government will be forced to print more money, which will lead to massive inflation. And along with that, even if they didn't print more money, it would lead to massive inflation. Let me explain. If you are a landlord, you'll figure out that you can charge an extra $1,000 a month and your tenants will have the money to pay for it. But it won't just stop with rent. Businesses all over America will realize that they can charge so much more than they could before, because now everyone has extra money. Expect the prices of food, clothes, gas, media, hygiene products, insurance, education, transportation, and more to all increase. But let me move on to my next point. Argument 6. It has never been tested before. It's hard to believe that up until this point I haven't mentioned Andrew Yang once. Andrew Yang is a total idiot. He wears a stupid hat that says math on it, so he can look all smart when in reality he has no idea what the hell he's talking about. Andrew Yang is a total fraud. He's completely disingenuous and a charlatan. And if Mr. Adam Skeptic is listening to this and thinking of what we had talked about, I would like to defend myself and say I have not broken my promise. Andrew Yang is never going to watch this, and even if he did, I don't think it's wrong to criticize a politician in such a manner. Politicians need to be held accountable, and the people that support them need to be aware when someone is selling them a bill of goods. But on to this video. In this, Ben Shapiro debates Andrew Yang on the fantasy that is known as UBI. Ben Shapiro is a very intelligent person, and I would recommend that you subscribe to the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire talks about real news as opposed to the fake news mainstream media. In this debate, Ben Shapiro challenges Andrew Yang, and he asked him if his fairy tale idea of UBI had actually been tried in any other countries, or has been tested on a large scale at all. And Andrew Yang basically tries to weasel out of the question, and he goes on to talk about the alleged benefits UBI would have if it was implemented. But whether or not Andrew Yang wants to address it, the fact remains that UBI has never been tested. So when he talks about what it would be like, he's lying. He doesn't know. He can't be 100% positive that it won't blow up spectacularly in everyone's faces. So, argument 7, it's communism. Now, if you notice the title of this video, it's called UBI, the cheese in the mousetrap of communism. But I haven't mentioned communism once. I decided to save this point for last because I believe it's the most important. What is communism? According to Google, communism is a political theory derived from Karl Marx, advocating class war and leading to a society in which all property is publicly owned and each person works and is paid according to their abilities and needs. But whenever you hear the word communism, I want you to think of this picture. This is a group of starving government-owned slaves. They are forced to work long hours in unbearable conditions and given just enough food to survive. Seems pretty terrible, right? So why would people allow their country to end up like this? The answer is they didn't. They were made to believe that everything would be amazing if they just gave a little bit more control to the government. Every now and then the Russian government asked for a little bit more power, a little bit more, until it became the U.S.S.R. and killed over 100 million people. My source for this claim will be in the description. So if communism is the mousetrap, then UBI is the cheese that lures you in. UBI on its face may seem like a good idea. Free money, who wouldn't want that? But when you dig a little deeper, you find out, like always, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe. I've been uploading a video a day since I started this channel. If you like this type of content, you'll be notified right away when it comes out. And lastly, if you watch this far into the video, I really appreciate your time. I promise you I don't take it for granted.